welcome back to another episode of
Mamas to Mamas.
We're
turning them out.
I hope y'all are appreciating these are coming in hot.
I mean, like the cookies we should be making.
But we're not. Tomorrow.
But we wanted to just take a couple minutes and try to, like Michelle said, churn out all the episodes that we think are better filmed together in person instead of on two different cameras. So for today's episode, we just wanted to kind of highlight some of the changes that we noticed in our romantic relationships with our partners, as well as even changes with some friends. Like friendships have changed too, if we're being completely honest.
Yeah.
And I think even our relationship, like we've mentioned, since I became a mom, I feel like we've gotten even closer, if that was even possible.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna just go ahead and jump right in. Michelle, what is the big difference or like the thing that you miss of Michelle and Michael pre-babies?
Get out of here. Go ahead. Back up.
If it's not the human children,
It's my dogs.
that's just my baby dog. That's just my baby dog.
That's enough. Go please. Just like having him just there whenever, not necessarily I want or need him, but I like, it's not until we go on date nights where I'm like, damn, I haven't held your hand in like a really long time. Leo is a huge daddy's boy.
As soon as dad's around, no one else can exist.
Literally. As soon as he walks in, it's like, forget about mom. He forgets how to do things that he did very independently throughout the day, just fine.
I'm sorry, guys. It's late in the day. We've been nonstop all day, so I swear I don't think her stuff is boring. I'm just really tired.
I can't even like kiss my husband without him being like, no, my daddy, and he'll like run and like, beat me to kiss him. But it's just kind of that. Like now you have to we schedule our dates now, because you can't just up and go. It's like, okay, now we have to pick something that's kid friendly that we could take them to. Like obviously I'm not going to take my boys to like Top Golf. I mean, I could, but for a 2.5 and 1.5-year-old,
they're going to jump right on.
Yeah, like that's not anything. It's not for them. So luckily, I mentioned time and time again, like I can tell my mom or my suegra, and they're like more than happy to just leave on the weekend. So we usually make weekend dates.
And do all the things.
Like, go have breakfast, have a date that is just like us. Most of the time, to be honest, it entails us like deep cleaning the house without interruptions because once again, Michael can't just chill. But that's like how he relaxes and how he shows his affection. So I think that's like the biggest thing, that you can't just like go. You gotta plan everything around the kids and literally like schedule everything. Like I know it sounds weird, but literally like you can't see you probably can read it.
Part of it.
On the weekend it says date night. Literally we schedule it.
Oh, there's one right.
Yeah, it's there. But I think that's like the biggest one. What about you?
For me, it probably would be just the ease of stuff. Like now, like kind of like you said, there's a lot more logistics. Like before, Omar was Omar and he was just Mr. Chiflado. I remember like the Dodgers were in the playoffs. Hey. And literally like he came over like Thursday night and he's like, let's book a ticket and go to LA and watch the game in LA. And I was like, okay. So we literally like in a span of 15 minutes, we booked airfare, we booked a car, we booked a hotel. We came down that weekend. Mm-hmm. I mean, I couldn't see them because I was obviously with him and they didn't know it was him at the time.
Which for the fact they were both drunk and they called me. I remember being at the pumpkin patch and you were like, we're here in Burbank. Like, where are you? I'm like, girl, I'm in Chino. I'll drop these people right here. We went with my compadres.
Because they were trying to find out who this chiflador was.
I was so hype. I'm like, sorry, Ariel, but Halloween will be back next year, honey. I need to meet this man.
But I think it's just like the ease and then like we used to be really night owls. Like we used to be up hella late, just like working and bullshitting and just talking. And now I feel like most of our conversations are either about work or about the kid. Like there is no like conversations about us as a couple besides like what do you need from me? Oh, we need to do this. Oh, Ezekiel needs this. Oh, we have this doctor's appointment. Oh, we have this specialist. But there's not actually like, and I kind of miss that. Like, I remember, there's multiple times like after Ezekiel, now that he is able to sleep on his own, like I think I mentioned here, if not, maybe in the episodes that we attempted to film it and never went up.
I get so confused.
I know, me too.
I'm like, I talked about that, and I'm like hearing them back. I'm like, no.
So in case I didn't, or in case that episode got cut, or we had to refilm it, it probably has only been like a month since I threw my back out. And up until that point, like I used to have to climb into the crib with my son, nurse him to sleep, and then one of two things would happen. I would like Jackie Chan out of the crib, or I would fall asleep in the crib. And then like I'd wake up at like 2 a.m, like, oh fuck, like I don't even say goodnight to Omar. I'm still in clothes. Like, what is this? So I would say just like that time. So now like there's multiple times where Ezekiel will go to sleep and like, you know, we'll be sitting watching a movie or having like a quick little catch up. And then he'll be like, babe, I miss you. I'm like, but I'm here, you know? Yeah, but it's just a different I miss you.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, I miss seeing you. It's like, oh, I miss you. I miss you, my girlfriend, not you, Ezekiel's mom, if that makes sense.
And I think for us, that's when we realize how much we miss each other. Because like I said, we try to schedule at least once a month. And once again, I still don't know if I've mentioned this. Like, I know I've mentioned it before, but I know it's always cut. But one of the biggest pieces of advice my Tio Bob and Tia Zulema told Michael and I at our baby shower was, like, schedule the date nights. Yeah. Even if it's just to a coffee shop, 15 minutes. Even if it's literally you walking around the block holding hands. Like, schedule time for you.
You know what? Ezekiel is a year and a little bit over a year old. And I don't think we've gone on a date without him.
No.
Mm-mm. And like when we had to turn in the Jewett house, Sandra and Lily watched him for like an hour, and then he's like, you know, just go get your nails done. Mm-hmm. But we didn't actually like go spend time together. No, it was like, oh, can you go pick up this paint, and then I need this from the hardware store. And I did it all, and he's like, okay, just go get your nails done. Yeah. But I don't think we've actually had like a date. No. And it's kind of sad, but
it happened.
And at the same time, like, I can't imagine being on a date and not talking about Ezekiel because
that's the first time we went. The first time we ever went on a date, he was like, it was around my birthday, so he was 2 months old. It was like, earlier for that month. And we were at JJ's in San Jacinto, and we're like, so like, Leo, what would he be doing right now? And like, mind you, JJ's from my suegras is not even 2 minutes away. It's literally around the block. And we kept catching ourselves like, why are we talking about him? You know, like we love him, but we're on a date. And we ate breakfast. It's like a mom and pop shop, so it's not like your typical IHOP on a like Sunday. No, it's like you walk in, you seated. We ate 45 minutes.
I'm fucking yawning.
And then we're like, so what do we do now? Should we just go back home?
Or you look at pictures.
Yeah, and it's hard not to talk about them, but I think that's one of the biggest pieces of advice that I receive and like appreciate that we follow. Because, you know, people give unsolicited advice all the time. But that one, it really like stuck to me that they were like...
At first you're like, what do you mean?
Yeah, I was like, what? Because I remember Ashley and Nico were there and she's like, yeah, girl, because you forget about your husband sometimes. And I'm like, how am I going to forget about my man? Like, I love Michael. He's the center, you know, like, I love him so much.
He is not the center of the universe anymore.
He's not.
He was. Now he's not.
But, you know, then it was like I understood that you just get lost in it. Then, after the 2 months, he stopped taking a bottle. So, yeah, we didn't do dates without him. But now it's just nice because I kind of get that time to
be a wife and not a mom.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's also hard because, like I said, we haven't really gone anywhere without Ezekiel. And it's like, by the time sometimes that I get him and I ready, I don't even want to go.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I don't want to. Like, I've spent the last 20 minutes washing bottles, filling bottles, cutting fruit, packing all the snacks, repacking the diaper bag, packing the extra clothes. I don't want to go anymore. It's too much work. Like, I'm tired. I want to take a nap.
Or when you plan to go somewhere and then you have to think about like, where am I going? Is this place kid friendly? I mean, not that we like visit people in their houses very often,
but are the houses
but
child
like
proof?
even with my brother-in-law, my sister-in-law, when we do go to their apartment, we're just like, fuck, they can touch like their air conditioning thing, like
all
they're
of the elephants,
pulling everything. Yeah, and I'm just like, oh my god, I'm sorry.
Well, I think that's one of the nice things of like coming and staying at my sister's house, that this house is baby proofed.
Yeah.
Like my mom's isn't, so we're constantly like, especially like the cabinet under the sink. I don't know why kids find that cabinet the most amusing.
Yeah.
And that's the, I don't even. Someone was like, "Why do we keep all the chemicals in that cabinet that's in our rooms?"
Like on the top.
But another thing that I've noticed is, aside from like, I wouldn't say losing each other, but having the focus redone, I will admit that I forget about Omar sometimes. Like I feel like before, not that I was like, "Ooh, ama de casa," but we would like make dinner, and it was always like, "Okay, there's dinner, and then let's go ahead and pack lunches now," and then the more like it's all packed and ready to go in the fridge. And now I'm like, bro, you're lucky if I made dinner. Like, pick up something on your way home. Yeah. Or little things like that. Like in the morning, I used to always set the coffee pot. And now it's a little bit different because we're not drinking as much coffee. But I remember I was like, dude, I'm in the crib with the baby at 8 o'clock. Like, if I forgot, I forgot. Or like, I'm not waking up at 5 in the morning. Like, I was up with the baby all night. There's no way I'm waking up at 5 to make coffee or breakfast or like acompañarlo al café, Yeah. And then he's like, I miss you. We used to have like that hour before I would leave, like to just have coffee and, talk about what our plan was and errands and stuff. And, how the evening went, and now we don't have that. And I'm like, sorry.
I think for me and Michael, that's kind of shifted now. Whereas before, he never was like a coffee drinker. He was the one who primarily would cook, so he would be like, "Oh, I'll just pack my lunch."
Mm-hmm.
But now that he's like in school and all of that, I think now I enjoy doing all of that for him while he's doing bath time. So like people will be like, "Oh, well, you're still packing him lunch and doing stuff. Like you're not taking a break for you." But the fact that I can make, like I can wash the dishes, I can make a coffee, I could pack a lunch. Like that allows me time to just be in here by myself. That I'm like, oh my god, now I feel like I'm, even if it's just making a cup of coffee that he's gonna drink tomorrow morning. I'm taking care of him some way,
somewhere. Yeah. I mean, we're definitely. I mean, things are gonna have to shift again because I'm scheduled to go back to work.
Yeah.
And I think even then, it's probably gonna be a hard realization because now it's like, and I think it's harder because aside from us being a couple and being parents to Ezekiel, and running a household together, we also are business partners. Like he's a contractor, but I help him on the back end, so it's really hard to have a conversation of just us and not the baby, the house, or work.
Yeah.
And it's not that I wouldn't say it's hard. It's hard to have that time because usually, like, there's always a competing priority. Like Ezekiel goes down and says, okay, we need to send out these estimates, these bids. We need to get these quotes. We need to send out these invoices. Did you reply to that, inquiry for whatever? It's like, and then by the time like all of the business stuff is done, and all the house stuff is done, and Ezekiel's done, he's tired, I'm tired, and we're like, all right, we'll just, if I get up in the morning, I get up in the morning. Yeah. But I need to be better about that because we need to get on a routine because I'm going back to work.
And you'll get there. It just kind of takes time because we weren't on a schedule. I mentioned to you guys before, like sleep training schedules. Like my kids just kind of happened to stumble into a schedule, but we never were like, it's 12, go to sleep. They kind of just naturally fell into it. But now that Michael's really, really diving into writing his dissertation, like we had to kind of get more strict on that to allow that time. There was one thing I remember Krista was like, oh, I put Carter to bed by 7:30 so that me and Manny can have at least an hour of us. Like that was when they scheduled their time together. And I was like, that is fucking genius, bro. Like I have never thought about it that way. I'm like, you guys are the most intelligent beings I know. Like,
well, I will tell you, the day that Ezekiel started sleeping on his own without me, like it was like a double-edged sword. Like my heart hurt because he didn't need me, but I was like, I felt like the stepbrothers, like we have all this room for activities. Like
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, I have so much time now. Because on a good day, he'll be in his like shower or bath, bottle, book, and in bed by 7:45, 8 o'clock, and he'll put himself to sleep on a good day by like 5-10 minutes into it, and then he'll sometimes be down for 4 or 5 hours before he gets up for a bottle. And most recently, like my mama heart is hurting because today is Monday. The last time that I nursed him was Thursday night, and he's not asking for me at night anymore. Like when he wakes up, it's because he wants a teta. So like I'm like yes, but then I'm like
you don't need
no.
me.
Like, was that really the last time I breastfed you? Like telling you to be quiet because you're gonna wake up everyone.
Yeah, and it's something as simple as that. Like we now put them to sleep sooner, and even though like he's doing homework, working on his dissertation, and I recently started now. Like I'll sit on the table with him, and I'm like editing, prepping posts that we're gonna be doing, finding things to post.
Just being in the same room.
Like we're not talking. We're literally just like playing footsies under the table, but literally just being in silence together, like that hardly happens because we're always like this and that and this and
Clearly,
that.
the dogs, the boys.
Yeah, like there's always something or someone, and if it's not here, like work is calling him. So it's just like those little things. And I remember we were talking about it. Like he was like, "Man, I like this because I get to work on my homework like at least 2 hours every night." And in my head, I'm just like, "Wow." Well, Manny and Krista were right this whole time.
Genius.
Like, damn, you know how much I could have gone and done if I would have done this like a long ass time ago. But it's just whatever works for you because I'm not a morning person at all. And Michael's like, well, I wake up at 5 in the morning every day too, and I'm like, ooh, I'll catch you in the night. Like I can't give me some time to like meet you in the morning too. But I think you just gotta do that. It's just for me, it's easy to leave them because I have and I just need that break. And for other moms, leave the boys to like go
and do things.
Have our date weekends, But once again, like not everybody has that readily available to them. So,
and it has to happen. I think when you're ready. Like even like so for Christmas, you're gonna sneeze. My goddaughter made like these little coupons, right? Like or change diapers, wash dishes, help you with laundry because she knows I hate laundry. A sleepover at my Nina's. And then she gave us like a date night. It was like a gift certificate to an Indian restaurant that just opened in town, and like, her and my aunt would come watch Ezekiel. Like, do I have someone that can watch him and will watch him? Absolutely. Usually, yes. Like my aunt is, they love him. They will probably drop whatever if she can drop it, she probably would and come like watch him at my house. But I'm just not ready. Like even though the restaurant is like, it's literally spitting distance from her house, and from our house it's like maybe 5-10 minutes. But I am not at that point yet to be like, here he is. Bye. But maybe when he goes to daycare, it'll be like I'll be more comfortable with like dropping him off.
Yeah. And it does take time because when Leo was breastfed, like I couldn't leave him. Like if you guys know breastfed babies, like they just want to eat all the time. So I couldn't imagine even going to like a quick Target run. And so like up until he was 10 months, like I'm not leaving you anywhere.
Well, I think a couple weeks ago, Omar got home and he's like, hey, do you want to go to the gym first or you want to go to the gym second? And I was like, oh, well, I have to put him to sleep and stuff. So let me put him to sleep. Why don't you go while he helped me with like bath and book. But then I did like bottle and bed, right? Then he was asleep and then I left. And I was probably only gone for like half an hour, TBH, because I was like, I need to go back. Like, I can't do this. I need to go back. And even those 30 minutes, like all I can think of on the treadmill is how selfish of me to be here. I should either be home with the baby or like this is time I could spend with, Omar. And like I wonder what he's doing. Like,
Does
is the
he
baby
miss
awake?
me?
Why would he tell me to go to the gym? Like, but it wasn't anything bad. It was just like, you need your time too. So why don't you just go to the gym and let out some of the frustrations and stuff. But it's a very interesting shift change that happens in your relationship, I would say.
Definitely. I think you start questioning a lot more. Like before, Michael would say something or ask me stuff, and it would always like yes or no. Like the first time he suggested we get someone to come clean our house, he was doing it at the kindness of his heart to like alleviate that. But I was like, well, am I not cleaning the house good enough?
Yeah.
Like I remember calling Julie and I was livid.
But I've had a house cleaner before, even pre-kids. And I've always been one to say, if you can afford it and it takes one thing off your plate and makes you a better, renter, homeowner, student, wife, mother, and you could afford it, like, honestly, if there was a way to add house cleaning to your baby registry, like professional house cleaning, do it. But no, I totally get it, because there's been times where like I've been in the thick of it and Omar's like, oh, can you call the house cleaner and schedule her to come? And I'm like, well, why? What you mean? Like, it's just that immediate defense. And it's not so much that I'm defensive. It's more that I'm doubting my own capabilities.
Yes.
And because I could be 100% vulnerable with him, I'm going to use him as my punching bag. I'm sorry, babe. I said it. Like, it is what it is. So then, like in one of the episodes that we talked about before, then I'm like, well, why? And he's like, it was just a comment. And I'm like, but why? What's not clean enough? Like, the dishes are done, meals are cooked, lunches are packed. What am I not? And he's like, calm down, dude. Like, that's not what I meant. I just thought you can go out, for a couple hours. The house can be deep cleaned and reset. And it's just like, to help you. But I don't, in that moment, I'm just like, well, why? Yeah, like, we gonna fight. Those are fighting words. Where usually we should schedule the house cleaner would be like, not freaking fighting words.
But even then, like, I feel like even my relationship, I mean, I call it like my mom group, but it's just like my sisters and my cousins. Like, I mentioned Brenda. Brenda and me have literally done life since she was born 3 months after me, and everything. Like,
they've done it, like, in sync.
We went to kinder together. We went to middle school together. Like,
graduated
mom life. Like,
high
we
school
did
together.
it all. And now we're mothers to 3 under 3 together. And
2.
Huh?
2 under 3.
2 under
You'd be
3.
adding a kid there and here.
Oh, I meant 2. Yeah, whatever. You guys get me.
Brenda do not have any more kids right now.
But even that relationship, I've always considered mine and hers, like, because of that age group with my sisters, that's always been, like, she's always kind of been my sister growing up. Because I was like, you guys are fucking weird. Like,
and Brenda doesn't have any sisters. She has 2 older brothers.
So for us, it was always just like,
us. It was us 4. Well, it was us 4, and then for them, it was always them 2.
Like, us.
And we're like, Alyssa would be like mad because Michelle and Brenda are not letting her in the clubhouse.
You come with us. Yeah. But even that, like, once we became moms, it was just like that relationship changed, because now we're kind of each other's venters, like if she's having a bad day, she could message me, she could call me. Take it a step further, even with Salma, like there's such a big age group between us that growing up, like, I don't remember ever really being close with Salma.
That, and like when she was little, they moved to Vegas.
Yeah, so we hardly ever saw them. And then she like found the love of her life in Sinaloa, so she was like part-time here.
Hala always over there.
So
like, we never knew where she was. Like,
yeah,
is she here or is she there?
But based on her like social medias and stuff. But again, once she became a mom, like, we kind of just became her first stop of like, oh my God, Emiliano, this, like, is that okay?
Oh, like, he has a fever, like, what is it? Is 98 degrees of fever? It's like, no, girl, he's good.
Oh my God, can he have this? And it's kind of just that.
It's that reassurance. Yeah, that like that space to ask literally no dumb question. There is no dumb question to ask except the one that's not asked or whatever. I also think, like, relationship wise, like I mentioned, I've been out on extended medical leave because of Ezekiel's health issues. So I would even say, like, when I was pregnant and stuff, I would go to work, right? I went to work up until the very end. I got put out on, like, permanent work from home until delivery, like, a month before I had Ezekiel. And then I didn't go to the office because COVID had spiked, and they're like, you know what, it's best for you just to be home. And I was like, works for me. I don't even gotta get really dressed. I just gotta put a blazer on and be done, right? But I would even say, like, some of my friends from work, my coworkers, like, before, when I would go to the office, and it's no one's fault. It's just life, right? I would go to the office and, hey, do you want to go for a walk? Oh, did you bring lunch? Let's eat together in the break room. And how have you been feeling? And, how can I touch your belly? How's the baby? Do you need anything? Blah, blah, blah. And they still do check in periodically, but it's not as common, right? Because I've been out for so long, one. Two, I'm gonna be real. If you text me and I have my watch but not my phone by me, chances are, like, I'm gonna forget to reply because in my mind I replied because I saw your message on my phone, but I just never got to it. Yeah. And then the other half of the time, my phone is dead. Like, I forget to charge it. It's dead. I don't even know where it's at. Sometimes Omar's like, why don't you answer? And I'm like, dude, I don't even know where my phone's at. Or I'll be like, oh, I left the house and my phone's at the house. Where before, I would never leave the house without my phone, and it was always fully charged. Yeah. But it's just like the dynamic of friendships change, and even some of my friends from down here, like, people on the flip side, people that I was never really close with, like acquaintances that happen to have kids around the same time, now, like, they're part of my online family. Like, they're part of my online virtual village because I'm like, oh, like, da-da-da-da-da. Especially, like, when everything was going on with Ezekiel, like, oh, do you need anything? How are you? How is he? And it would be, like, random. Not like random people at random times. It wasn't like I posted something that prompted them to ask. Yeah. So it kind of also felt nice knowing that, like, they, in the middle of their busy day with their little ones, they're thinking about me and my little one.
And I think it just goes back to that people's lives just kind of continue. And that's what I struggled with the most as a stay-at-home mom, that it'd be like Wednesday morning and I'd be like, so nobody wants to come hang out?
Like, everyone's at work?
And it's like, yes, girl, everyone's working. You got to wait till Saturday. But then, come Sunday, I would schedule, brunches with my girls. And Friday night, Leo and Diego have a fever. And it's like, I'm not going to leave my kids to go drink mimosas and eat breakfast. Like, and so sometimes I would feel bad being the one to cancel. But I think it helps when you have kind of like that core group of girls, like my Adulting Sucks girls, Ale, Lucy, and Jesus.
AKA our number one podcast fans, supporters since the beginning.
They know, like, I'm always the one who's like, when are we scheduling our next outing? Because this mom needs to get out of here. But they understand, like, if I message them the night before, the day of, they're like, no, girl, don't worry. Like, those babies come first.
Well, I also think, like, so I mentioned Irene. She has a baby that's a month older. And then I ran into an old coworker and his wife at Costco. And come to find out, because they're pretty silent on social media. And we weren't, like, necessarily super close, but they have a little girl that's a month younger. So Brayden is from June, Ezekiel from July, and baby Charlotte is from August. So, like, randomly one day I was like, hey, do you guys want to just, Ezekiel has his pool. Do you guys want to come over and just go swimming? Like, it's not a big, it's a big above ground pool. It's not like an actual pool, and it's not a small kiddie pool. Like, we fit in there perfectly fine. Yeah. It's like 16 feet by 4 feet or something. And they're like, yeah, it's just like a lot of fun. And I was like, all right, cool, perfect. Like, I was like, okay, we're going to have burgers. Like, I have everything here. Just come over. And of course, there I am running around, running errands. And I'm like, oh, let me get, baby Charlotte and baby Brayden, like, a little stuffed animal. So I went to, like, this little boutique because they carry this particular brand of stuffies that I love. I love them, right? It's a Jellycat. If you guys know what Jellycat is, no, look them up. They're cute. So I went, and then Charlotte's mama's name is also Julie Marie. That's how we became, like, friends, because her husband was like, wait, that's my wife's name. And I'm like, no, like, that's my name. I've never met a Julie. I've met, like, a Juliet, but never an actual just Julie Marie. So, and then, Irene's like, hey, Brayden's, like, running in, like, he's at the end of his nap, but I don't want to wake up, so we're going to leave, like, in 5-10 minutes. Girl, don't worry, I'm not even home. Then Julie's like, hey, we're going to leave, like, in 10-15 minutes. I'm like, take your time. And literally I was like, honestly, there is no rush. There is no shame. Yeah. We're all going to be late because we get it. We're in that same stage of life where there's no judgment. And then they're like, we're going to just kind of play it by ear. I don't know when we're going to leave depending on naps. I think the kids did great. They ended up, like, hanging. Ezekiel went down, like, at 3:30 maybe. And the play date started like at 11.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went down and we finished eating, cleaned up, and then by 4 o'clock they were gone. Mm-hmm. And like they had all text me when they got home, like, oh, Brady's asleep, oh, Charlotte's asleep. But you know, it was.
I think it's just a different kind of comfort when you're hanging out with people who have kids.
Because and yeah, I remember Julie was like, oh my God, thank you so much. Like I really appreciate. Like I was super stressed, and I'm like, with me, it's the last time you need to be stressed, girl, because I get it. Like diapers need to be changed, bottles need to be made, whether it's formula or defrost breast milk or regular milk or whatever it is. You know, it's a different level of understanding that maybe someone with no kids who's usually very punctual is probably like,
hello,
like you said fucking 11 and you're not even home. Like,
and that's, I mean, I think that my tia and Brenda came and Evan had poop. And she's like, oh my God, I'm sorry, it's going to smell your house. And I'm like, Miss Ma'am, there's dirty diapers here all the time. Mm-hmm. Like, no problem. We just keep it moving.
Yeah. Change the diaper, throw it in the garbage, and
move on with your life.
What's the next thing they're going to do?
Yeah.
Right? Or my favorite is like, oh my God, my house is a mess. It's like, you have little ones. Like,
it happens. It's cool. It's fine. Like, we'll clean up together.
I think one of the most important, especially with like friendships, not so much your relationship, but friendships, is I would say don't necessarily apologize for your kids taking up space.
Yeah.
You know, like your kids are a big part of your life and they take up a big part of your heart. So they should be able to take up space anywhere you go.
Yeah.
Without you apologizing. Like I saw this thing on Instagram and I think I posted it on our Manas and Mamas Instagram, but just to kind of summarize, it's like, is it hard? Yes, it could be hard. It could be difficult for me to pack up my kids. Do I want to cancel sometimes? Yes. But I remind myself that my kids are allowed to take up space in this world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and like kids are going to be kids. 1 and 2 year olds are going to be 1 and 2 year olds. They're going to be testing boundaries and yelling at a restaurant. Mm-hmm. And, you know, when they get tired, they may cry. Like, we went to have Olive Garden today and, you know, Diego legit took off his shoes and was sitting there like, you know, throwing things off the things because he wanted to lay down his mom. You know, and Ezekiel makes a complete fucking disaster everywhere he eats because he's just everything. Like, he's like a freaking tank shoveling things, but only about a quarter of it gets in. The other 3/4 is on the floor. And I used to be like, oh my God, like, I don't want to, like, they're going to judge me that I'm letting him make a mess. And, oh my God, the servers are going to hate us. And I've just learned to just be like, you know what? It is what it is. He is literally my favorite person to watch eat because he just eats with so much like desire and so much like comfort when he eats that I'm like, whatever. So sometimes I will ask, like, can I have a broom? And I'm like, no, we get it. Like, it's fine. So yeah, I mean, going back to relationships, just remember that your kids are allowed to take the space in this world.
Yeah. I think my biggest relationship that has changed, like, not necessarily, I guess, yes, in a way, because I see her more often, has been with my mom. Since Diego was literally 3 weeks. Since he was 3 weeks old, like, she's been staying with me 2 times a week. And not only, like we mentioned in Alyssa's episode, has that kind of opened my eyes to, like, the sacrifices she did, but just, like, seeing her with the boys, I'm just like, oh my God. Like, I don't know, it's nice, but also, like, sometimes she's also the first adult who walks in after, like, a frustrating day, so she gets, like, the overwhelmed,
the wrath that is
Michelle. Like, and I don't know, I mean, not to talk on her behalf, but I think, like, out of the 3 of us, I'm probably one of the few that would really, like, I don't know, you and Alyssa are so feisty and always so, like, that she probably doesn't, like,
when she knows that when she gets to the show,
like, it's because
it's a lot, and 2, it's not necessarily against mom. It's just, you know, fuck these kids today.
I'm sorry, Mom. But I think that kind of having her in my house for those 2 times a week really, like, has brought us close together, and I appreciate that a lot more. Because it's...
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I wish she was at my house this week. Not just to, like, you know, not just to, like, be an extra set of hands to help with dishes and stuff, but just to see her interact with the kids. Because, like, Ezekiel talks to her every day on FaceTime. And if we don't talk during the day, during breaks or whatever, we make sure to call her at night. Mm-hmm. I think we said that before. Mm-hmm. But, like, when when my mom pulls up at Michelle's house, like Diego and Leo are like, "Grandma's home," and they're like, and then there goes my little like chubby monster
like,
trying to keep
running
up.
towards
He doesn't
nowhere?
know, but he's running, And I don't know, it warms my heart to see my mom with the boys.
Yeah.
And I would even go as far as to say, like, our relationship has changed drastically.
Yeah.
I mean, hence the birth of this podcast, right? Like, when would we ever talk about heavy shit online, openly,
Or even, like, I don't know, in high school, my high school year, college, like, we never
we were living in two different worlds. Like,
literally, I would never see her, and if I did, it was like, oh, you're home, hey.
And like, she was going out the door with her boyfriend at the time.
Yeah, like, I don't think I ever, like, hugged or, like...
No.
I think there was one time we were, like, fighting, and we were, like, going down the hall, and I was like... like, we were on polar opposites of...
Like, don't touch me, yeah. It was just drama.
So, no, yeah, now it's
but even, like, when I see her, like, hold my son, like, I'm not even gonna lie, I think I probably, like, I've been here since Thursday night. She picked us up Thursday night, and it's Monday night.
Yeah.
I've probably gotten teary-eyed or cried or just, like, taken a step to take in the chaos that is the three boys and my mom, or the three boys and Michelle, because it's like, but I never in a million years thought that we would be living this season of life together.
Yeah.
And it's so, like, heart, like, it genuinely is heartwarming to know that, like, whether she sees my kid once every 2-3 months or every day on FaceTime, the moment that she sees him, she's like, "Come here, gordito," like, "Oh, I missed you, baby." And, he recognizes her, and when he, like, looks at her and gives her a big hug, it's like, I never knew how much I wanted that until now that I have it. Like, now I can't imagine not living this life, like, this season of life, for the good, the bad, the heavy, the funny. Like, even today we went to that indoor play area, and I'm like, dude, like, point of view, I get to do mom life with my sister to babies that are within 18 months of each other. Like, I don't think many people can say that who are as close as we are, even though we're 500 miles physically apart.
Yeah. And even, like, I think it's the funniest thing, like, the cutest thing, honestly. Anytime Leo hears, like, a FaceTime ring, he'll be like, "Is that Titi Zeke?" And I'm like, well, you can FaceTime, like, anyone. It doesn't necessarily, like, who you calling, Mom? Titi? And he, like, waddles over to, like, see his Titi.
Yeah, and like I said, at first I was a little worried, right? I was worried being so far. Like, I remember before Ezekiel was born, I had a whole breakdown. I was like, oh my God, I'm having an emotional breakdown because I'm going to have to do this by myself here. Like, mom's 600 miles away. Here, 500 miles away. Mm-hmm. He's going to grow up by himself with, like, not knowing who his cousins are, which is now it's the complete polar opposite. Like, he sees them and he automatically smiles. Mm-hmm. Or, like, we had to take out Ezekiel's car seat out of Michelle's car when we stayed at my mom's house on Saturday night. And Leah was like, "Mommy, this is Zeke's chair." And she's like, "Yeah, Zeke and your Titi are going to stay at Grandma's house." "No, Mommy, Titi is Zeke, my house." And he would, like, pull the car seat back because he didn't want his little cousin to go. Or, like, ever since I brought Ezekiel home from the hospital, Leo has always had such a soft spot for my son. Yeah. Like, when he was a baby, there's pictures of him, like, giving him kisses gentle. He's so little. Gentle. Or when I brought him here and, like, he was in the car and Leo was already in his big boy car seat and Ezekiel was crying because his bottle fell. And Leo was kind of talking at that point. And he said Ezekiel was crying because his bottle fell out of his mouth. And he's like, "Mama, Zeke's bottle?" And then we look back and he's like, his little arms, like, could barely even reach, but he's, like, holding the bottle for my son or holding his finger. Damn. Yeah, and Ezekiel kind of looks for him. Like, whenever we see him, like, he'll go up to Leo and, like, Leo was asleep on the couch earlier and Ezekiel had his bottle. And, like, yeah, Ezekiel, like, Leo was asleep with his hands like this, so my son goes and puts the bottle in Leo's hand. I'm like, "You're going to wake him up," So just to, like, see even their relationship, they're 1 and 2, but they definitely know who each other is. And there's just so much, like, again, now that I know what life is, I can't imagine it not being like this. Mm-hmm. For the good, the bad, the heavy, the happy, the silly, the angry,
I think it just makes it all worth it. Just
even
like
more.
seeing, the ring. Is that Didi? Is that my grandma? Oh, like if they see my grandparents, my abuela,
like that one time they're like, my abuela are here, and you're like, no, they're not. And then like he's like, my abuela, my grandma, my grandpa. Sure enough, the door opened and it's my grandparents, and we're like, oh shit, we didn't know you guys were here. But just like the way that everyone loves on our kids and the way that our kids know who everyone is, it's just special. And again, there's multiple times where I just kind of take it all in. Yeah, there could be toys all over the fucking floor. The kids can have cookies all over their face and juice, down their shirts. But it's like,
it's worth it.
And we get to do it together.
Yeah.
Like, it's just something that I really wish people that can't experience this were able to experience it, because it's, when something goes bad, she's the first one I call. When something goes good, she's the first one I call. I remember when Ezekiel took a shit on the toilet, like, besides Omar, who was in the bathroom with us, I was like, Ezekiel pooped in the toilet. And they're like, what do you mean?
I think that's going to be the hardest thing for me when you go back to work, is that I'm not going to, I have Brenda, but like we mentioned before, like, you're literally the first person I call when our eyes are still like hinchados as fuck. Yeah. So it's like now.
Or like throughout the day. Yeah. Or like sometimes I even use her as an alarm. Like, can you call me back in an hour? And then maybe like an hour and a half later, but she comes back. And I'm like, oh shit, I was supposed to blah, 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 blah. I mean, it's going to be hard for me too, because I'm just used to like, we get up in the morning, we get our day going. We're sitting down to have actual breakfast, because Ezekiel has pre-breakfast and then he has breakfast. And it's like, okay, let's put her on FaceTime while we talk, or while I'm washing the dishes, or only the dishwasher, or let's go and see what they're doing. And sometimes it's like, hey, what do you do? She's like, oh, I'm blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'll call you later, bye. And it's going to be hard, because at work, I can't be on the phone like that. And Ezekiel's not going to be with me, so he's going to be at daycare.
Me and Zeke are going to be like,
I know. I'm like, daycare, one request. You need to call Phoebe every 2 hours.
Thanks.
No, but it's just, relationships in general, they completely shift.
Yeah.
And it's up to you to determine what relationships are worth investing the time, and what ones are just better off. Like I'm not gonna lie, there's some that have just fallen by the wayside, and I'm totally fine with that.
I've kind of struggled with that in the beginning, because I've always been that one to like check in. How you doing? Happy Friday, happy Monday. Hope you have a good weekend. Hey, I know, whatever. I'm always the one that would do that. And then one day I was like, I'm so exhausted on messaging like these 50 people, and out of those 50, like maybe 10 reply and only carry a conversation back and forth with me for a little bit, and then they never reply.
Or they never ask about the kids.
Yeah, or even me. Like, they would just answer the questions about themselves. And then I was like, why am I going to spend the little energy that I have checking in if, like, you would never do that to me? And yeah, honestly, like, if you haven't gotten a message from me in a while, that's probably why. Like,
I always say the phone works two ways.
Yeah, it does. And
right. Just like you expect a text from me, I don't necessarily expect one from you, but if you want to start that relationship up again,
yeah, like that's
you know how to do it. You know how to get a hold of me.
Exactly.
Call me, page me. What is it? Call me, beat me if you want to reach me.
But literally, that's how it goes, because I have so much. My hands are tied up with the boys that really, like, I'm not going to be watering a dead plant, pretty much. Yeah. But it is what it is. And, if those friends really cared, they would message back. But I think, like you've mentioned, now there are other people who are parents now that I relate to much more. So,
or if she texts me and I take a while to reply, she knows I'm not ignoring her. It's just Zeke's being a badass, or I read it on my watch and she's like, oh, she's probably going to text me either later today or tomorrow. And generally I do. So you kind of have a feel, but like Lisa Michelle said, if the conversation is always one-sided, then that's different than like someone else in the similar season of life that's just busy with their kids, there's nothing wrong with that.
Which is always with Brenda. We're like, girl, my kid's acting up. Let me call you back in a little bit. And then like 3 days pass by and we're like, hey.
I mean, there was a moment, I think, when Emiliano was first born, where it was kind of nice because we would all be on FaceTime together. Right? Because the schedules were still pretty, like, Evan would still sleep a lot. Mm-hmm. Ezekiel would still sleep a lot. Diego would still sleep a lot. And, Leo was not sleeping necessarily, but it was just one that was causing a ruckus.
Now everyone's like,
and it would be something as stupid as us having lunch, like, well, I made a sandwich. Oh, would you put your sandwich? Like, literally, that's what our conversation was.
Like,
that sandwich sounds good. Like, you know what are you doing? Oh, I'm door dashing the sandwich stuff because that sounds like, it wasn't even necessarily a point, like a deep conversation with meaning. It was literally like, what are you guys having for lunch?
Yeah. And I think that's where you relate to people, especially on like Instagram. I think that's like the fastest form of seeing somebody's life, because you highlight, and with other people who are going to like raves or
Vegas or
graduating, traveling, like I love all that, and I love that they are able
that for
to
you,
do
but
that.
It's not my life.
But then when I see like a lot of our sorority sisters or Michael's fraternity bros or people who went to college with, or even high school, like recently with the podcast, I've gotten a lot of people from high school who, like, I never really was friends with them, but I knew who they were. And now they're like moms, they're dads, and
so they're invested in what we're putting out,
and so now they can come, and I'm like, oh my god, like your baby started like kindergarten, like, yes.
Oh my god, my heart, I can't.
Yeah, like I love seeing that, even though I've never really spoken to you. The fact that now I get to see that, it's just like, as a mom seeing it, I'm like, your baby's grown up and in kinder. And whereas like before, I'd be like, okay,
bro, who cares about your kid in kindergarten?
But now as a mom, I get it, So, just your relationships change, and that's kind of all part of it. Even if you don't have kids, every so often you become different. You change, you evolve, you grow.
Your needs, your desires, your aspirations change. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Mm-hmm. I think it's just a matter of refocusing what relationships truly matter at any given point. Yeah. Like, a relationship for me that will always matter is the relationship that I have with Omar. Mm-hmm. Right? And that relationship gave me Ezekiel.
Yeah.
So I have to actively sometimes, because of how hectic my brain is, I have to remember that, like, Ezekiel's here because of our relationship, so we should not let that relationship fall by the wayside.
Yeah. And I've always said, even like, I think it's just the way mom brought us up, the fact that like you are the one that's got you for life and no one else, that I would say when me and Michael were dating, like, I love Michael. He is the love of my life. He's my soulmate, but never once has he been the center of my world. Like, he's never been that. Because
I would
tell him, like, I know it sounds fucked up, but I would tell him, like, I love you so much, but don't expect to be the center of my world, because come tomorrow, if we don't work out, like, yeah, I'm gonna be sad, but I'm gonna keep moving.
Pushing.
Mm-hmm. And now I think because he not only is my husband, but he literally gave me the two loves of my life, like that song, like El Amor de Su Vida by Grupo Frontera, like that's really it. Seeing the love of your life, love something that you guys created, it's just like, fuck, I really should appreciate you more. And so for me, that's kind of, it's like the opposite, like sometimes kids kind of bring you apart, but I think seeing the way that he loves the boys, I've fallen into like a deeper love.
A different love.
And that's kind of been the hard focus of like, I want to schedule these monthly dates because I miss dating you. Because yes, it's all fun and games of playing mom and dad and boys, but at the end of the day, like, I can say now confidently that he is the center of my world, because
it's just split with two other
yeah, like literally. And God, whatever the future holds for us, like no matter what, he's gonna be in my life because I have these two boys with him. So I think for me it kind of worked the opposite. Seeing him as a dad, like I
like what's that thing? You never know how much you love your husband until you see him be a father or something like
that. And literally, it's just like, sometimes if you have me on TikTok, you'll notice I always post like him in the afternoon with the boys, just like running around, playing tag, or playing this. And he loves it. He loves being a dad. And like seeing him, I'm just like, oh, chef's kiss. Like, you're so sexy when you're a dad.
Well, yeah, for me, it's like, now that Ezekiel is one walking and we rearrange the furniture, it's the moment that he hears the utility van back up. Like, he will stop what he's doing and like run to the window. Yeah, and basically like dad's home, and then to see Omar on the other side of the window, like he can have blueprints and permits and work plans and design plans and his suit, not the suitcase, but the
tool belt.
the tool, well, not the tool belt, it's basically like a suitcase that has all of his paperwork in it, and then his lunch bag, but he literally will put it all down
to pick them up.
No, and just like interact with him through the mirror, through the window, and then he comes to the door, and I could tell he's had a long day, but the first thing out of his mouth is always puppy, and his ego just gets so happy, and like, then he starts to like waddle over there, and it's just a very different type of appreciation and love. Like when I see him with our son, it's like, yeah, like how did I get so lucky? I had to go through hell and back a couple times, but
we're here.
But if it got me here, I would do it all again in a heartbeat.
And I remember back in the day when I would think about the day we would have kids, I'd be like, God forbid you walk into that room and don't say hi to me first. Like, it's over, Michael Sanchez. I have to be the first person you greet. And now it's like seeing him be greeted and greet the boys. I'm like, I would rather you do that 100 days in a row and kiss me until like you're dead asleep. Like, I'll kiss you.
Right now, he was asleep and he came out and he's like, I'm gonna go to sleep. And she's like, you're not gonna kiss me? And he's like, oh yeah, okay. Small business shout out is gonna go back up to Northern California, and it's gonna be Alicia period one fit life. She is a personal trainer. She's been she is amazing. She's been a personal trainer for years. She was my personal trainer when I first moved up to Northern California. I joined a new gym that had just opened, and she was there, and I got matched with her as a personal trainer. And she's trained me in a professional gym. She's trained me at my house after. She's trained me when I was going through everything, like I wouldn't say fertility treatments, but all of the things to prepare myself. I saw her to get myself mentally and physically in a better place. And now she trained me in her garage. She has like a garage setup. So she's very knowledgeable. She really knows her shit. And she's amazing at what she does. She's she is literally a workout and health encyclopedia at my fingertips. She was like, you know what? I'm going to go to your house and help you get set up. Like when I had my previous house, she helped me like set up my home gym, gave me workouts to do on my own. Now she opened up another little like side hustle called Bohemian Sky, where she has really pretty intricate, just like not chucherias, but like glass and rock. She's like these super cool designs. She's usually at the SoCo Market in Sonoma County. So we will link both her workout Instagram and her Bohemian Sky link down below. And with that being said, we always end, you are beautiful, you are worthy, you are enough, you are amazing, you got this, mama, and most importantly, you are capable of doing it all.
You got this. We love you.